Good Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. So as we learn this election, cost of living is on the minds of most Americans. So tonight we want to talk about housing, specifically rental housing. A sobering article in the Star Tribune caught our eyes, saying a rental reckoning is coming to the Twin Cities. In short, it detailed how developers are racing to complete current construction on new rentals, but after that, the supply will likely stall. And with more renters still coming into the market, that could mean affordable rents get harder to come by. With all that said, according to a new report, there is a lot of potential for adding several thousand new apartments in downtown St. Paul in the next couple of years. And this doesn't involve breaking new ground. Kent's on the show to explain. Hi, Kent.
Hey, Jana. Yeah, the report we're talking about looked at the feasibility of converting 20 different buildings in St. Paul into apartments or condos. Gensler, the company behind it, has done this around the world and usually finds about 25 to 30% of buildings are a good match to convert. But in St. Paul, it's more like half.
Downtown St. Paul's skyline has been stagnant for a while, with several of the most recognizable buildings sitting for sale despite steep discounts. But according to the new Office to Residential Conversion study commissioned by the St. Paul Downtown Alliance, there could be hope on the horizon for all those empty cubicles.
We've got two under construction right now, the one right behind me and Landmark Tower just a couple blocks that way. And we're hopeful that by providing this report to the market, we're going to help accelerate that conversion.
Downtown Alliance President Joe Spencer says Gensler scored the buildings based on several factors, like the floor plate and accessibility to windows, how easily it could be divided up into units, and accessibility to parking, plumbing, and electrical, to name a few.
This is going to be a lounge that's for resident use up on the 18th floor.
We got a look inside the conversion at the Landmark back in the spring, where all of that math had already been done.
This project actually has a uniquely good footprint for office conversions.
Soon, the Landmark will add nearly 200 more units to downtown St. Paul, and the report now says at least 10 more buildings could follow, with the iconic First National Bank building getting the highest conversion score.
For us, the upside, when we look at those 10 buildings that are strong conversion candidates, is upwards of 4,000 housing units being added to downtown. And when you have that mix of users, where you have residents and workers and visitors all in one place, that's what makes for an exciting and vibrant downtown.
That sounds great. I've talked to developers who have said it's not that easy because of how much money this costs in order to convert. How do you get from on paper this can happen
Sure.
to a developer coming in and actually making that happen?
So there's no question, none of these are easy projects. That being said, what this report shows us is that our buildings are actually more efficient to convert. We also know that there's going to be a gap on top of that. One of the big tools that we're looking for from the state is the CUB credit, what we call the CUB credit. It's an additional tax credit, a subsidy that helps close that gap so that we can accelerate the conversion.
Building prices could also sweeten the pot. 5 of the 20 properties are owned by Madison Equities and have been sitting for sale for months.
Those buildings are going to fall in value until at some point the price is right and buyers are going to come in. We've had that part of town where the Madison Equities properties are clustered has been struggling kind of in the center of downtown for a while. This moment is, I believe, our greatest opportunity for transformation in the last 100 years.
But in the meantime, prices aren't the only thing that could come crashing down.
Will there be, in your opinion, buildings that disappear from this skyline?
That may well be a possibility. I think certainly over the course of time, certain buildings may prove to have outlived their useful existence.
Now, the old St. Paul Athletic Club, you might remember that. It recently failed to sell at auction. That's an example of one of those struggling buildings. They did not get one of the top 10 conversion scores, but the report lists it as having potential for it if some compromises are made, Jana, and things like parking and other space issues with units.
Speaking of compromises, leads me to that question of help and cost. Is there any incentive for a developer to go into a building that already exists and convert it?
Yeah, there certainly is. And that is really why these tax credits are talked about, because in new construction, a lot of the cost gets sunk into building material. With these conversions, it's better for the environment, but it also mainly goes to labor. So it's a lot of jobs and it puts people to work.
All right. Thanks so much, Ken. Certainly something we got to keep our eyes on for the months and years to come.